I want to start with a a very specific and honestly a very painful scenario.
Okay.
It's 3:00 a.m. The house is silent. You are just exhausted. Your body feels like lead. It is begging for sleep. But your eyes are wide open. You're staring at the ceiling because your brain has decided that right now is the best time to replay frame by frame some awkward handshake you messed up in like 2014.
Ah, yes, the universal 3 a.m. ceiling stare. It's practically a rite of passage.
It feels like a hostage situation. You're just trapped in your own head. Or maybe it's not the past, maybe it's the future. You're lying there just, simulating every possible way tomorrow's meeting could go wrong.
Up to and including the building catching fire.
Exactly. We usually just call this overthinking or spiraling.
Yeah.
But for this deep dive, we dug into a serious stack of research neuroscience papers, studies on stress, and what we found is that this isn't just a bad habit. You aren't doing this because you're bored.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
What you're describing there is a very specific physiological state. It's really a mechanical failure.
Mechanical failure.
Yeah, think of it as a state of chronic neural and autonomic hyperarousal.
Yeah.
The research suggests that when you get stuck in your head, it's because the braking systems in your brain have failed.
So my braves are shot.
And your body is stuck in a loop, mobilizing for a threat that doesn't actually exist outside of your own head.
Okay, that is both really validating and also kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
So let's unpack the machinery here, because I think we use overthinking as this catch-all term. But in the literature, there's a real distinction between overthinking and something called rumination, right?
That's right. And it's an important distinction because they feel different biologically. Science tends to separate them based on time and emotion. So overthinking is usually oriented toward the future or the immediate present.
So that's the what-if game. What if I forget my lines? What if they don't like me?
Exactly. It's characterized by uncertainty, decision paralysis, hypervigilance.
Yeah.
You're scanning the horizon for threats. The primary emotion there is anxiety, fear, dread.
You're trying to control a disaster that hasn't happened.
Right. And then rumination. That's the time machine to the past.
So why did I do that loop?
Yes. Replaying distress, analyzing perceived failures. The emotions there aren't so much fear as they are sadness, regret, shame.
So one is trying to control the future, the other is trying to fix the past.
Precisely. And they feed each other. You ruminate on a past mistake that makes you anxious about a future one, and then you start overthinking. It's a perfect storm.
So let's get under the hood. What is physically happening in the brain when we go from just thinking to, I cannot turn this off, why can't we just stop?
To get that, we have to look at how the brain manages attention. We tend to think of the brain as one unified thing, but it's actually more like a collection of networks that are, competing with each other. It's a bit of a power struggle.
A power struggle in my head. Great. So who are the main combatants?
The two major players here are the default mode network, let's just call it the DMN, and the frontal parietal network, or FPN.
Okay, let's start with the DMN, default mode. That sounds like standby mode.
Sort of, yeah. The DMN is the network that lights up when you aren't focused on a specific task. When you're staring out a window or zoning out. It's all about self-referential processing, thinking about you, your past, your identity, your story.
Wait, but I thought zoning out was supposed to be good for you. Isn't that where creativity comes from?
It can be. In a healthy brain, the DMN is where we make these amazing abstract connections. But in chronic overthinkers, the DMN is hyperactive. It doesn't just idle gently. It races. It grabs a negative story and just runs with it.
So instead of a nice daydream about a vacation, it's a feature-length documentary of all my failures.
Right. Now, on the other end of the seesaw is the frontal parietal network, the FPN. This is your central executive.
Okay.
It's responsible for looking outward, focusing attention, making decisions, and this is crucial inhibitory control.
So the FPN is the CEO trying to get work done, and the DMN is the guy just muttering to himself in the break room.
That is a perfect analogy. In a healthy brain, they operate like a seesaw. When you need to focus on, say, an email, the executive network kicks in and suppresses the default mode network.
The CEO tells the break room guy to hush.
Exactly. You stop thinking about yourself and you start thinking about the task.
But in an overthinking brain,
the seesaw is broken. Specifically, the executive network's inhibitory capacity is weak. It tries to push the brake, but the brake lines are cut. So even when you're trying to focus, the DMN is still firing away, injecting those self-critical thoughts.
So the background noise is at volume 10.
Precisely. And to make it worse, a third player enters the chat. the anterior cingulate cortex, or ACC.
ACC, what's its job?
The conflict monitor. It's like a spell checker for your behavior, constantly scanning for errors or mistakes.
Okay, that sounds useful.
It is, but in overthinkers, the ACC is hyperactive. It's wildly sensitive, so it's flagging errors that aren't even really errors. Yeah, it constantly signals threat or mistake, which then triggers the DMN to analyze it endlessly.
Yeah.
And since the executive network is too weak to say, hey, it's not important, let it go, you get stuck. It's a positive feedback loop.
That just sounds exhausting. Just hearing about it is exhausting.
It is exhausting. It burns a tremendous amount of metabolic energy.
And speaking of energy, I want to pivot to this study we found on adolescence and stress, because this was a huge aha moment for me about what this does to the body.
Oh, the Trier social stress test study. This one is fascinating.
Okay, so set the scene, because Trier's social stress test sounds very clinical, but the reality is just a nightmare scenario.
It really is. It's the gold standard for stressing people out in the lab.
Yeah.
They took a group of adolescents. Some were high ruminators, it was in their heads, and some were low ruminators, and they put them on a stage.
On a stage, okay.
Yes, they had to give a speech and do difficult mental math in front of a panel of judges. And here's the kicker. The judges were trained to be completely non-responsive.
Oh.
No smiling, no nodding. They just looked bored and unamused.
Yeah.
It is socially excruciating.
That is my actual personal hell. Doing math while 3 people stare at you like you're an idiot. So the assumption would be that the high ruminators, the anxious kids, their hearts would just explode, right?
That's what you'd think. That if you're high anxiety, you must have a massive reaction to stress. But that is not what they found.
Really?
During the actual event, the high ruminators did not necessarily have a bigger spike in heart rate than the low ruminators.
Yeah.
The explosion was about the same size for everyone.
Wait, so the reaction is the same?
The reaction is the same. The problem was the recovery.
The recovery.
This is the key. For the kids who didn't ruminate, once the test was over, their heart rates dropped. They went back to baseline, they shook it off.
Okay.
But the high ruminators, their heart rate stayed elevated significantly long after the threat was gone.
So the judges are gone, the math is over, they're in a quiet room, but their body is still on stage.
Exactly. Rumination acts like a preservative for stress. It keeps the body's sympathetic nervous system active. It stops the system from returning to safety. So the real health cost of overthinking, it's not the size of the stressor. It's that the loop in your head physically prevents your body from knowing the event is over.
Wow. So you're sitting on your couch, totally safe, but your heart thinks it's still running a marathon because your brain is replaying the race.
That is it. Precisely. And that leads to the next question, which is why? Why can't the brain just filter this stuff out?
Right. If the judges are gone, why can't I just tell my body it's over?
Well, this takes us into some really interesting deep anatomy. It involves the thalamus. We usually think of the thalamus as the brain's relay station, but there's a specific structure wrapped around it called the thalamic reticular nucleus, the TRN.
TRN. Okay, what does it do?
Think of it as the bouncer at a club, or a gatekeeper. Its job is to block distracting or irrelevant signals from reaching your cortex, the thinking part of your brain.
So in a healthy brain, the TRN is like, okay, the hum from the fridge, irrelevant, block it. That awkward thing from 2012, irrelevant, block it.
Ideally, yes, it lets you focus. But in anxiety and chronic overthinking, this filtering process gets biased. The amygdala, our threat detector, has a direct line to this gatekeeper, and it essentially bribes the bouncer.
It slips the bouncer a 20 and says, hey, let the scary stuff in.
Pretty much. It creates what's called an attentional bias. Instead of filtering out noise, the anxious brain selectively lets threat-related information pass through, so you physically cannot ignore negative stimuli. The gate is wide open for anything that confirms your fear.
So when people say, just don't think about it, they're fighting a physiological gate that has literally been rigged open by their own amygdala.
It's a serious uphill battle, and it gets even more mechanical. There's another failure point, and it involves dopamine.
Dopamine? But wait, I thought dopamine was the good chemical, like the reward one.
That's the popular idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasure, reward. But biologically, dopamine is really about salience. It's about your brain saying, hey, pay attention to this. This is important.
Okay, so it highlights things.
Exactly. And under high stress, dopamine levels spike to make you hyper-aware of the danger. But here's the glitch. Inside the amygdala, there are these special cells called intercalated masses, or IM cells.
IM cells.
Their job is to be the emergency brake. They're inhibitory neurons. They're supposed to calm the amygdala down and stop the panic signal.
Right.
But And this is the wild part. High levels of dopamine actually suppress these brake cells.
Wait, hang on. So the stress triggers dopamine to make me pay attention to the threat, but that same dopamine cuts the brake lines that are supposed to calm me down.
Correct. It's a design flaw for the modern world. If a tiger is chasing you, you want that brake cut. You want full mobilization. But when the threat is just a thought, it's a disaster. The dopamine leaves the amygdala unchecked, driving your whole system into overdrive.
This explains so much about why you can't just logic your way out of a spiral. The machinery itself, the chemicals, the gates, it's all working against you.
It is maximizing for survival, not for your happiness.
And that has to connect to the body. We aren't just brains in jars. This is all happening inside a nervous system that's constantly scanning for safety.
Right. You absolutely can't talk about this without talking about the body state. And this brings us to polyvagal theory from Dr. Stephen Porges. It shifts the perspective from just brain networks to our entire autonomic state. And it starts with a concept he calls neuroception.
Neuroception, how is that different from, perception?
Perception is conscious. You see a dog and you think, that's a cute dog. Neuroception is subconscious. It's your nervous system's built-in surveillance system. It is constantly scanning for cues of safety or danger long before you have a conscious thought.
It's that feeling when you walk into a room and the vibe is just off. You don't know why, but your stomach drops.
That's it, exactly. Your body knows before your brain does. And polyvagal theory lays out this hierarchy of 3 states we can be in. At the top, you have the ventral vagal state. This is the green zone.
Green is good.
Green is safety, social engagement, connection. You're relaxed, you can make eye contact, your heart is regulated. This is where we want to be.
And if you're not there?
If your neuroception detects a threat, you drop down into the sympathetic state, the yellow zone. Mobilization, fight or flight, anxiety.
And if the threat is just too overwhelming to fight or run from?
You drop to the bottom. Dorsal vagal.
The red zone.
Immobilization, shut down, freeze.
So where does the chronic overthinker live?
So often overthinking is a sign of being stuck in that yellow zone sympathetic mobilization. Your body is revving its engine for a threat. But the threat is internal, it's a thought. So you're not actually running or fighting, you're just sitting still.
You're revving the engine in neutral.
Exactly. And here's the really tricky part. Inaccurate neuroception. If you have a history of trauma or just chronic stress, your surveillance system gets tuned to detect danger even when the environment is safe. It's a faulty alarm system.
So you're lying in your own bed, perfectly safe, but your nervous system is screaming danger.
Yes, and that keeps you locked out of that ventral vagal green zone. You physically cannot access the part of your nervous system that lets you relax and connect.
Which leads people to the most logical response in the world, avoidance. If thinking about the scary thing hurts, you just don't do it.
Of course, the logic of avoidance is sound in the short term. It lowers anxiety immediately. If you're afraid of a party and you stay home, you feel a wave of relief.
Right, problem solved.
But the problem isn't solved. You've just made it stronger. By avoiding the thing, you deny your prefrontal cortex the data it needs to learn that the situation isn't actually dangerous.
You never give your brain the chance to see that the party was fine or that the dog wasn't going to bite.
Exactly. It's a failure of what we call extinction learning. The fear is never extinguished because it's never challenged. And worse, it generalizes.
Generalizes. That sounds ominous.
It is. The brain starts drawing bigger circles around the danger. You avoid the dog, then you avoid the park where the dog might be, then you avoid the street with the park. Your cognitive map of the world just fills with no-go zones. Your world gets smaller and smaller.
Wow. So let's try to put this all together. We start with a broken seesaw in the brain. The executive part can't quiet the self-talk part.
Then you have a gatekeeper in the thalamus that's bribed to let all the threats in, and a dopamine surge that cuts the brakes in your amygdala.
Which creates a body state where we don't recover from stress, we just marinate in it.
We get stuck in that sympathetic, mobilized state, and then we use avoidance to cope, which only reinforces the whole cycle.
It is a lot. And honestly, hearing all that, it feels a little hopeless. Like, if my biology is wired this way, am I just doomed?
Not at all. The goal of understanding this isn't to make you feel broken. It's to stop you from blaming your character for what is, at its core, a biological event. And it prompts to the solution.
Which is?
Well, notice what we haven't talked about. We haven't talked about thinking positive thoughts. Because you can't think your way out of a broken neural seesaw. You have to work with the body. You have to widen what we call the window of tolerance.
The window of tolerance.
That's the zone between the panic of the yellow zone and the shutdown of the red. It's that green zone where you can handle life. And this brings us to the most powerful concept from polyvagal theory, co-regulation.
Co-regulation, I've heard this. Is this just, venting to a friend?
It's much deeper. Our culture is obsessed with self-regulation. We think if we're anxious, we need to go into a room alone and meditate and fix ourselves.
Go to your room and calm down.
Right. But biologically, we are a social species. Our nervous systems aren't designed to regulate in a vacuum. They are designed to regulate through connection with others.
Like wife.
Exactly like wifey. When you're in that overthinking sympathetic state, just being around someone who is in a safe ventral vagal state, someone calm, grounded, making eye contact, their nervous system literally sends a signal to yours.
And my nervous system picks that up and says, oh, they aren't panicking. It must be safe here.
Yes. It can flip the switch from sympathetic fight or flight back to ventral vagal safety faster than almost any internal thought process can. A safe face and a soothing voice are biological interventions.
That is wild. We try so hard to be independent, to handle our own mess, but you're saying the cure for the 3 a.m. ceiling stare might actually be other people.
It might be.
Right.
It's about realizing that safety isn't just the absence of a threat. Safety is the presence of connection.
So the question we want to leave you with is this. You've been trying to solve your overthinking with your mind. You've been trying to logic your way out of the loop.
But are you trying to think your way out of a problem that actually requires a biological feeling of safety to solve? And are you trying to do it alone when your nervous system is actually waiting for a signal from someone else?
Something to think about, but maybe. Don't stay up all night thinking about it. Call a friend instead. Thanks for diving in with us.
Take care, everyone.